OSINT and the art of pivoting, because we are going to be doing OSINT off of an image, well actually two images. What are we going to be able to do with these images? We're going to try to find a location where the image was taken. So, first of all, what does OSINT stand for? It's open source intelligence. Well, it's also known as reconnaissance, depending on who you ask. And there's a few ground rules for it to be called OSINT. It needs to rely on publicly available data. So everything that's social media accounts, phone books, documents, pictures, anything that you can find on the web. And isn't so reliant on interaction. That would be human. Communications technologies, that would be SIGINT. Equipment analysis, that would be TechInt, etc., etc., etc. So it's really anything that is publicly available. Right. An OSINT investigation, when you're trying to find something based off of an image, or doing a trace labs and trying to find someone, is done in multiple steps. Step one is to define the requirements. What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to find? Etc. Second is retrieve data. You need to find some data, right? Then you analyze said data. You analyze the data. You try to determine what you can see. You pivot off of the data, which is finding additional data or determining additional data that you would need. So you then retrieve it, you continue analyzing it, etc. And once you're done, you build a report. Not too complicated, 5-step process, kind of a loop, but that's kind of where we're at. So as a summary, first we're going to kind of see what is pivoting, how to pivot effectively, various tools that can be used to pivot, how to track one's steps, and finally some tips and tricks of the trade. I'm going to go over this quickly because then we have a small, a more practical instance. Right. So pivoting. A pivot is basically to acquire more data points from a previously collected data point. Right. So for example, you have the name of John Doe. You can find that he has a Reddit account. Okay, fine. Why not? In the content of that Reddit account, you were able to find that he has a Twitter account, like he linked it or something. Fantastic. And in that Twitter account, there is a profile picture. And that picture is actually an information of John Doe. And other source of information could be dHash, that's a website. It could be a source of a password for John Doe, for example. So for an email address of John Doe, etc., etc. Right. Perfectly valid pivot. All you basically do by pivoting is making your data set be bigger. That's basically it. So when you start an investigation, you're going to do a few first pivots. First one is going to be to find social media. You could do a Google Doc. That would probably give you a Twitter, a Facebook, depending on. What this does is it gives you a relations profile. Who are their family, who are their friends, who are the people they interact the most with, do they have pictures, etc. Right. Second part is to find the same username on other platforms. There's actually tools that do this. What this does is it gives you future pivots, but also gives you aliases that they usually use. In my example, so my real name is Nicholas Book. This is nothing new. If you Google my name, you would find AtomicNicos. And that is my alias. There we go. And from there you would find my Twitter. Perfectly valid pivot. And then you can find pictures. For example, building a physical profile. So if I have, if the person has body modifications, so this would be, of course, piercings, studs, things. Yeah. Also tattoos. What their haircut is. Hair color is also an idea, for example, which you would then use on other images to find whether or not it was them at that time. And then you move on to more advanced pivots, right? For example, looking for name changes. did they illegally change their name? Some of these records are public. I know that in Canada they are, and that's how I found someone during a Trace Labs investigation. Because they changed their name from one to another, and they were actually using their previous name on certain records. So yeah. Yellow and white pages. That gets you possibly addresses, which then translate to what assets they own, which then translates to something you can look at through CCTV cameras on Shodan. Things like that, if and when it is an option. Other things are potentially dehashed RAID forums, so you could potentially have some credential leakage. If you have your hands on the Facebook data leak, not that it is ethical or illegal to have them, it is quite easy to just look through the phone numbers if you know what country it is. So yeah. You can also look for criminal records. It can give you some potential gang affiliations. It can give you a few ideas. If you're looking for people in the US, for example, if they're a sexual offender, they will be on the sex offender registry, which is a registry you can also consult by location, which is a pretty nifty thing. Don't go looking there if you don't have a strong stomach. Trigger warnings, right? Then we kind of move on to effective pivoting. How do you pivot effectively? I realize I'm going a little bit quickly, so I'm going to check if there are a few questions. There are none in No Mic. Feel free to ask some questions. So yeah. How do we pivot effectively? Well, you're trying to look less like a crazy maniac, right? And more like a, normal person. So say hi, Charlie, and now let's say bye, Charlie. Yeah. So first of all, it's tracking your steps, right? When you find a data point once, it's awesome. You found your data point. Once you're 4 hours later into your investigation and you need to find it again, you're losing time. And okay, Trace Labs is a competition, right? That's fine. Losing time is an issue. If you're losing time during another investigation, it's fine. But why do things twice, right? Okay. So ideally, you could store information type, a short description of what that information brings you, URLs, maybe a snapshot. For example, I have Hunchly, so I could, Hunchly dashboard. It's pretty nice, but yeah, it's nice, but there's some additional stuff that you could definitely look at. For example, so yeah, Hunchly, pretty nice. You can do new cases, you can find some stuff. There's a browser extension. It's perfect. Most of the case, you might come back to a Trello card though, because so this is the Trello cards we use sometimes for Trace Labs research. They are extremely valuable because, well, first of all, they give you the right category, but they can also easily be commented on and gain additional people working on them, right? So all of this is fantastic. Also know how you got to that information. For example, you're going from point A to point B to point C to point T, whatever. Well, if you found, let's say, their license plate and an image that you found on their Facebook that you found through their Twitter, mention that you found it this way. Because if you need to re-find it because you forgot the URL or you deleted it or whatever, you'll be able to do that without looking at the entire data set again. So yeah. And once you have this, there's you need to drill down on what you have, right? So drilling, it's, for example, finding interesting images, services they've linked to their accounts, families and friends, once again, people of interest, once again, potential offenders, right? That's one of the steps. Then you're analyzing, right? So finding distinguishing marks, once again, tattoos, hair color, body modifications, right? You're building a timeline, for example. At one point in time, they had no tattoo. They got it in this month because the month before they didn't have it, and the month after they did. That is a part of a timeline. Also allows you to locate a person geographically at any one given time, but also socially, economically, etc. That gives you an idea of if and when things went wrong, right? And finally, making an asset inventory. This is something you would see more in, let's say, a network recon, or when you're doing threat modeling. But an asset inventory, what do you have? I have these social media profiles, I have these images, I have these things. Very important. And finally, another thing is building addiction profiles. This is when we're dealing with people. If you find 50,000 pictures of them smoking weed, you probably can determine that they have a weed habit. Not saying that that's a bad thing, just saying that is a thing. Then comparing data. So you can potentially find SOC accounts by comparing certain uses in linguistics and which ones link to each other, what profiles like each other, etc. You can potentially find some SOC accounts. Pretty interesting. Seeing changes in features, so that's people's features, usually, or what cars they drive, etc. Once again, you can mark evolution in relationships. So they were with such and such, and then they were with such and such, and then they had a child with such and such, etc., etc., etc. And then you need to move on from what you're doing, right? So moving on from one pivot to the next is actually quite, complicated, because instead of being a linear thing, the thing is going to look like this. With a first element, a second element, a third element, a fourth element, and all of these things go one after the other. So what you do is you pivot in place, you add stuff to the backlog, and then you tend to remain in familiar waters, right? And once you feel you've gone a little bit too far, you backtrack. For example, here, if I were to display this, right? Laser pointer. You would start from your root node, you would go to the first one, you would see that it's a little bit of a dead end, right? Backtrack, you go to 2, you go to 2.1, remaining in the same waters, right? Then, you're not at the right place, so you backtrack, go to 3, okay, that's pretty good. You find something else, you backtrack, you find something else, you backtrack, find something else, you find something else, and then you backtrack back, etc., etc., etc. So it's a depth first search, as it were. So all that is pretty useful, and it's going to help you do things effectively. So what types of tools are you going to be using? Well, the OSINT framework, it's always the best one to kind of get a starting point on. It's not a tool, but it's a list of tools, so yay. It's easy, it's a mind map, it's pretty useful. Multigo is pretty nice because it leverages transforms to dig for data, so you don't actually need to do everything. So here I did a small Multigo investigation of my own domain, so that would be AtomicNicos.me. This gives me all of this, so I probably should sanitize, but why not? There's a lot of use cases. You can use it for a lot of things, from network recon to actual recon or people recon. And it does have a pretty good reporting capability, right? Another tool you could use is just a Google Dork, right? So using all of the robots that scan the internet and to find your 3 keywords, very interesting. It's a powerful tool, and it allows you to do some investigative shortcuts. Also using Google Images, reverse image searches, all that good. All that's very good. Right. Social media advanced search tools, like Twitter and Facebook have an advanced search system. So for example, this would be a Facebook Explorer or Twitter Advanced Search. They're very good. You can use locations to filter accounts on Facebook. You can use certain mentions or who they've mentioned on Twitter, for example. And you can sort those mentions. That's also very good. Final part is, since you're going to be building a report, it's how to log what you found, right? First idea would be a Trello board, right? Like we mentioned earlier. That's good for small investigations, like trace labs investigations, and for example, investigations that are structured around points, right? Word documents. Don't use them to do anything.
Here's a song for you. Don't!
Thank you, Sean. Awesome for small investigations, but just don't in general. And I mean, if you're going to use a Microsoft Word document, just use tables. And hot link to images, because otherwise your file is going to be huge. So yeah. Mind maps. They're awesome to represent stuff graphically. They're horrible if you're going to be doing something that's big. So, you know, take it on a per case basis. Works kind of well with big cases, but you need to have the ability to, you know, reduce some of the nodes. And yeah, it's hard to place results in some cases. Other solutions would be databases, editable charts, some homebrew stuff, like using a Neo4j database or whatever. You know, whatever. All of these things are tools you can use. Next up, you know, some tips. Right. Overextending yourself is painful. Going, you know, one after the other, very fast. It's complicated. Having a backlog is pretty cool. If you find something or multiple somethings, you just add it to the backlog and you consult it afterwards. Yeah, don't do 50 hours of reconnaissance and then start analyzing. You know, you find a few things, you analyze them. You find a few things, you analyze them. It's always good. And yeah, don't lose focus. Good part is a good shout on mental health. Taking breaks is awesome. I should take my own advice from time to time, but taking breaks is really awesome. If you're in a team, discuss it with teammates. Like if you've seen something that's really, you know, triggered you in some way. For example, a sexual offense report or something like that, like you would see in the US when you're somehow investigating. You know, you can discuss it. Just, you know, take a breather. Grounding yourself. So it was, I think, Nicole Beckwith that had a pretty good talk during Conant. So that was a conference back in October. Open source intelligence or general intelligence conference back in October. That had like 5 steps to ground yourself because you need it. So I recommend you go take a look at that talk at some point. Have SOC accounts, especially nurtured SOC accounts. That's very important because Facebook is going to flag new Facebook accounts for unusual activity, and it might get you blocked, it might get you whatever. Whereas having a Facebook account you've done and you visit once a month for something, perfect, no issues there. Don't use LinkedIn as a SOC account methodology unless you're, you know, planning on triggering something, because LinkedIn, unless your ping premium pings the accounts you visited, there's a method around that, but it involves putting a link and in some other software that then generates a report. But since it's a Google software, it bypasses the authentication scheme, etc., etc. It's a little bit weird, but it's awesome. Don't forget your SOC account passwords, because yeah, that's one of the worst things you can do. Oh, and finally, privilege, no-touch investigations. So to avoid spooking your target, no resetting emails, etc. for logging in, and don't send anyone messages. And I said that was the final one, but I still have 2 slides. Working with peers is good, so peer checking your work. Discussing with your team if you're working in a team or with other people, doing an investigation is pretty good. And working on your strengths and on your weaknesses. So for doing a lot of legwork on your strengths and doing some of the legwork on your weaknesses or cross-examining it, very important, because then you get better, basically. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yep. That and that and that. Okay, cool. So now that we've done this, does anyone have questions? Okay, someone mentioned Breadcrumbs by Trace Labs. That is awesome. Yes, that's a podcast. Any GitHub user's email address? Yep, that is a pretty good tool. You could also just clone their repository and look through the Git log, but yes. Right. Anyone have any questions? Feel free to, give us a mention. And in the meantime, I am going to get ready for this investigation here. And why did I get 11 notifications on Twitter? I'm scared. Okay, find some accounts with same usernames. Yep. Okay, so let's take a gander. So this image, we have two images from Yellow Cap Ghost. This one, and we have another one which is hello, goodbye. Where the hell did I put this? Okay, let me just look at. Yellow Cap Ghost. There we go. In the audience today, by the way. Where did they put that? Yeah, there we go. Good luck, OSINT. And they did mention another picture. So this picture. So let's open this image in a new tab. Let's actually shove this in a tab that I care about. God damn it. Right, there we go. Boop. There we go. So first of all, let's try two things. We have two images. Let's do a reverse image search. One of the best ones would be, of course, Yandex. Yandex is pretty good for a lot of things. So yandex.com images. Right, this is going to get you somewhere potentially. Twitter images are pretty good because they come in a variety of links, so you can just shove a URL and it'll get you something or not. Okay, here we don't have much. Okay, we have some stuff, but it's just finding something, right? And so that's not very awesome. It's just finding trees. I too like trees, but it's not useful. Second image we can look at, it's potentially this one. So let's give it a whirl. Enter image URL. Get that started. Will it find something? It will. These are all things that are similar. And for example, the first image we get here is Mount Takao in Japan. Okay, so we can go from the basis that it is Mount Takao in Japan from the inordinate number of pictures of that area. Fine. So let's go into Google Earth. And there's a reason why I say Google Earth and not Google Maps, is that Google Earth allows you to do projects, which are pretty good, which are a collection of images or locations. So this is something we can work on right now. Okay, Google Earth has loaded. Let's ignore that. That was me cheating from earlier on. Let's find Mount Takao. There we go, recent searches. I was doing this before this, so So here we have a Mount Takao. It is a mountain, and we're going to start from this point there. Okay, let's add this to a project. Let's do a new project. Yellow capped ghost. There we go. And that's Mount Takao. The reason why I'm adding this to a project is that if I zoom out, you can still find it on a map. Right. So, what can we see on our images? we can see a pretty large area with a lot of stuff. So we can assume it's a city from the fact that we have some, let's say not skyscrapers, but some pretty high buildings here. We have a kind of white bread-ish looking structure here. I mean, you know, camera quality is something, but let's not get there. Let's not go there. And we have a band of green stuff here. We're going to assume that this is vegetation, right here. And we're going to go off of that. Okay. And obviously we are at a position of elevation. Okay. So, let's get started. I guess the one thing we could look for initially is this building right here. Because it is a pretty distinct building, let's put it that way. First I'm going to copy the image. I am going to go to this. Yeah, let's save that. Let's save that under. There we go. And let's close those two images. Okay. And import from clipboard. Okay. So I'm using a Fastone editor because I just don't want to use Paint. So that's pretty much it. And I'm going to go into draw mode, and we're kind of going to work off of that. First building we're going to try and find is this building here. It kind of looks like cake. And feel free to unmute and say things if you know, kind of want to interject or comment on something. Let's find this building here. Because it is the most, let's put it this way, visible building. Right. So we have our mount to cow, and we can just go here, and we're in 3D mode. We can just look left and right. Okay. Do we see anything interesting? There's one thing I do see. Can anyone see what I'm seeing here? Or mention why I'm saying that it's interesting. Feel free to just put in no mic. Okay. What I'm seeing that's interesting, I'm going to mention it now, is this band of green here. This band of green looks suspiciously like this band of green here. Okay? Which means that my slice of cake structure here is going to be to the left of that. Okay. So what do we have to the left of that? Let's just go like this, and let's kind of go in this direction. Okay? We have cake. So if I just scroll out again, just so you know, band of green here. And here we have our cake. So if I zoom back to here, band of green, cake. Let's go to our cake. What is this building? Well, actually it's a series of buildings. It looks somewhat similar to this, except maybe from an angle. I'm not good at math, so I'm not going to take care of angles for the moment. I'm just going to find buildings and place them on my map. Okay, so I am going to take my image that I have here, and I'm going to say that this thing is the Musashioka Eye Clinic. And I know I said this horribly, but then again, yeah, do I care? Right, so I'm going to add this to the project. Okay. Should Eye Clinic, and I am just going to shove this on our map. Okay, so let's just take this, do this, right? So this is this, right? And let's just say that's the Eye Clinic. Okay, let's just put some text and Eye Clinic. Okay. So that's already pretty good. We already have something. Okay. Now we do have a few other buildings still in the vegetation, in the growth. I think it would be a good idea to find them. first, because if I try to find every small building in the... I'm going to assume that is Tokyo. So I had this somewhere here. Yeah, so Mount Takao, looking over this area, yeah, it's Tokyo. Okay, so if I try to find any building in Tokyo, as I was going to say, yeah, I'm going to have problems. So let's not go with problems, let's go with solutions. Right. So, not that. Google Earth, once again. Let's, so as you see, there's a yellow dot, so this will allow us to find some more data points once we're here. Okay, so we are at our Mount Takao, and we are going to look at, in the distance. What we're looking at now is we're trying to find a building that kind of looks like this. It kind of looks like, I don't know, maybe a chapel or something. There's like a small tower, or maybe a barn, whatever. It looks kind of like that. Let's start with that. So, we have our eye clinic. We're going to just take somewhere to the left a bit. We're just going to zoom in. Okay, maybe I missed it. There we have something interesting. As you can see, the shape does look somewhat okay. I mean, it does have this small tower thingy. Let's close this and this for the moment. It does have this tower thingy. It has this kind of, roof shape-ish. Of course, this is synthesized images, so I'm not going to even care to compare colors. But I'm going to assume this is the Faculty of Sport and Health Studies of, I guess, a university. Okay, so let's shove this here. This is an element. It's to the left of this, and it's to the left of this. So for the moment, I'm counting this as a win. Back to this. This is this, allegedly. Let's just do this, right? And let's do, right, faculty of health and, what was the name of it? Sports and Health Studies, right? Okay, cool. So now we have a second thing. Pretty nice. We do have two other buildings here to the left. I am actually going to take a look at them. Let's go to the left. There we go. We have two buildings with what looks like some vegetation. Could be two buildings separated. Could be one stretch of vegetation here and one stretch behind. Not entirely certain. But I'm going to take a look at it through the lens of this thing again. So Google Earth is a fantastic tool for this type of, reconnaissance. Let's kind of go to the left of what we had before. This is what we had before. Let's go a bit to the left. Not here. There. Okay, let's kind of go here. Here we have something that looks a little bit interesting. It is somewhat in the reddish tones, but then again, that could be camera effect. There is something that looks like a building like this here, and something that looks like, like some furtherance of a building. Like, let's say if I did it like this, you could see this here, and then maybe, like if I did this type of perspective, you would see what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to say that these two buildings are this series of buildings. There. Come on, let me pivot correctly. So this is apparently the Hosei University Tama campus. So I'm just going to shove this here. This is this. I'm not even going to pretend to know how to pronounce this. Right, there we go. What is up, tutoring? We are doing OSINT. Say ball. OSINT. All the OSINT. We're actually doing an actual investigation. Well, not an investigation. We're trying to find a Yellow Cap's ghost OSINT challenge. So, let's put it this way. So now we have three things. Three things are nice, but they seem to be somewhat at the same level of the image. Okay? That is not fantastic. That is not fantastic at all. One of the things I'm going to do first is actually put some guidelines to my image. Forgot to do that. Guidelines would be vertical and lateral. Just poof. That way I can get some perspective from where the camera was compared to those things I just found. There we go. Let's just do this. I am better than this. There we go. Okay. Now I have this, and I have this guideline, which is totally screwed. Let's just put this straight, put the record straight. Okay, there we go. So now I have my guidelines. Okay. So what am I going to try to find next? So I know this might sound like a crazy idea, considering that this is technically Tokyo and Greater Tokyo. But I'm going to try to find some buildings in Tokyo. I know it sounds crazy, but I have the distinct feeling of, because I've already done this, and that's how I did it the last time, that I can probably find, without too much effort, this building, and this stack of buildings. Now, remember, I am already at a location that I somewhat know. So finding these three things when already knowing these three things shouldn't be a problem. I just need to look very attentively. The thing is, I don't know if my picture was taken from, Mount Takao, like, as defined, or if it's somewhere in the greater area. No, you're not slowly being called out for your phone camera quality. You're being actively called out for your phone camera quality. There's the difference. Right. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to try to find buildings, which, once again, is a little bit crazy. Yeah, but this one is the fun challenge. It's the one that just dropped. So, I'm doing this one. So I need to find these three buildings. Right. So, what can I find? I know that from my picture, one of these pairs of buildings is going to be between these 2 points here. So if I kind of angle like this, and I try to go in this direction, I am not finding any buildings. That's because my perspective is wrong. What I can find is here you see that we have a group of buildings here that astonishingly, if you take it from the right perspective, does look like a cluster of buildings that you would find here. See, here you have a small shape. So here you have a shape like this. Here you have a shape like this. Here you have a shape like this-ish, a space, a shape like this, something here, and something here. Right. So if I look at it from this perspective, these buildings seem to coincide. Just from the right perspective, right? So I would need to be like this, probably. Okay. I now have some buildings. I'm actually just going to delete all of what I just did. Because now I'm going to try to name a few of them. Now the easy way to do this is to actually just take the furthermost ones, so the one most to the left and the left, and the one most to the right, and then try to name those. So one most to the left would probably be this one. Yeah, that would be the small one to the left. Small relative, you know, with altitude. You know, you kind of take it like this, or let's put it like this. This would be the small one to the left. This one would be the middle one to the left, and this one would be the one to the most right. So let's try and name those. Let me slap it. There we go. Add to project. To left. There we go. This one, as I said before, is going to be the one kinda to the left. Okay. And this one is the one most to the right. Once again, not pretending that I know how to pronounce any of these words. Okay. I now have 3 buildings kind of like this. Okay. This gives me an idea. First of all, I should be putting them on my map. So we have this building here. I am so reducing this. Okay. So we're kind of doing a straight arrow. This building here and this building here. Okay. This is going to give us some reference, or some frame of reference at least. Let's try and pull this up. And let's pull this up to the max. Well, not to the max, but let's, you know, sizably. So we are working on stuff that is the size of a pincushion on a low quality image, once again. But we are finding stuff, is the what I'm trying to say. So this would be to the left. This would be this one. Right. Let me grab the name of the. There we go. Information provided by Google. This you're helpful, but yes. There we go. Okay, so this would be the lefternmost building. Okay, and what is it? I actually do need a bit of a frame of reference. This building here, and it is a daycare center. So I'm just going to slap daycare center on this. That way I kind of know what it is. Okay, so this is my first one. That's cool. What is my second one? Kinda to left. This is this one. Okay. I mean, kinda give me a pin. Yeah, damn it. Okay, replace. And there we go. This is what they call a cramming school. I'm not even going to guess what a cramming school is. Like if I were to say it's just some place where they cram a ton of knowledge in people's heads, I might not be far off, but I don't know either. So I'm just going to put cramming school and leave it at that. Okay. Okay, so that gives us a certain frame of reference. So once again, size of a pincushion, right? But they give us a certain frame of reference, as you'll see in a second, or in a minute once we get to it, right? So this, once again, let's grab the name of this. This doesn't have an English sounding name at all. So I'm just going to shove this name into Google Translate, and hopefully it'll do the job. It is apparently the Hashimoto Tower. I don't know if Translate is just giving something from a tower in Hashimoto. I don't know. I'm just going to assume it is called actually the Hashimoto Tower. Okay, so that's, hold on, poof, this, I said this, right? The Hashimoto Tower. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. I'm just saying things as I read them, okay? I'm not trying to be culturally insensitive here. I'm just trying to, you know, find a building. Right. Good. Google Earth, once again, we have lost our frame of perspective, so we're just going to find our Mount Cow again. There we go. This is our Mount Cow. Yep, there we go. Okay. Okay. So, we have these buildings once more, and we're going to try to find this building, this reddish area, and this building. Okay, so maybe that'll work. I don't know. There we go. Can I perhaps has the delete button? No. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Right, I seem to have lost this this square, but let's do this a little bit differently. Let's shove an arrow down here, and let's shove an arrow down here, and let's say also that this reddish thing also deserves an arrow. Okay, let's get what you just walked in on OSINT being done on a picture. The picture is this picture, and we're trying to find out where it was taken from. Right. So, now what I'm trying to find is this building here-ish. And this red building and this somewhat black cornered white building. That sounded horrible. Ignore the fact that sounded horrible, please, and let's... So, here from my Google Earth perspective, I can actually already see a building that looks kind of correct. There, you see this? This is black. You know, well, badly shaded here. I'm just going to assume it's this building, and that it is this thing. And this is apparently Combi Plaza Hashimoto Nursery. I'm going to assume the nursery isn't 25 stories high. So I'm just going to call this Combi Plaza and be done with it. And hopefully I'm not wrong or horrible. At this. Let's put this here. Okay, what is this reddish area that connects them? Well, as we were seeing here, there is a reddish area that connects them. It's this reddish area. This doesn't look like it has a name. Looks like a factory-ish thing. It is a factory-ish thing. There is this. I'm guessing that this is a form of address. But, yeah. It looks like something else. Right. Just give me a second. Showing someone something. Okay. Okay. And okay. Right. So this would apparently be this, which I still do not know how to pronounce. So I'm just going to, yeah. I'm guessing this is more of an address than anything else, but you know, I'm just going to take it in stride and kind of deal with it. Alright, okay. And then we have this building once again with the black corners, which if we kind of look around that area, is pretty easy to identify. It's this building because there's nothing else that quite looks like it. and this is actually the DHL building. Hey, Zero UID, if you could mute yourself. We're doing OSINT, haha. So this is the DHL building. I am, once again, not going to pretend to know how to pronounce that, but that does look like this building. Okay, let's put the name on there. Okay, we now have a lot of things of arrows. I'm not going to do every other building because I'm not insane, contrarily to what some people might think. But I do have enough things to have a frame of reference. For example, if I were to pull a line from the beginning area of my image to each of the arrows, and I realize that my software is having issues, so I'm just going to go in and go back out. Right, there we go. If I were to draw an arrow from each place to this place, I would probably get a pretty good idea of where I am, just through simple trigonometry. So let's do that. So my frame of reference, once again, is these three buildings, because I can locate them on a map, right? And I have these 6 buildings because I can locate them in the distance. This is more than you would need, but it is what I'm going with. So, arrow here to here. Get a little bit larger. Okay, that is pretty cool. Here to here once more. This gives us too much zoom. Okay. This gives us some proximity also to various things. This is this building, so we can just do this once more. Okay. This is like painting. It's also a form of art, but it is right. Okay, why can't I okay, yeah. Right. Okay, yeah, my software is being a little bit of an idiot, but let's I am asking some very precise things from it. So let's yeah, okay. And let's just okay, yeah, and okay, yeah, okay. Let's zoom back in. And let's place these on the dead center, because at this scale, perspective is what is going to kind of nuke everything if you don't do it correctly. So let's put it straight on the middle right there. And this is the middle one. Okay. Once more, doing this. Whoa, shoot. Okay, there we go. There we go. This once more. Cool. Okay, and let's place this right there. Okay, and let's try to position our arrows as concisely and precisely as possible. I know that this one doesn't seem very important. It probably isn't because of how it is situated, but this one is, in terms of perspective. Yeah, the session has a lot of people. We're actually nearing the end of the session, if you believe it. We're just going to find where those few buildings are, and then we're going to be able to find where we are on the image. So let's do this. Oh, this is one of the more interesting ones because we really see that it is crossing paths with this. So that is going to be interesting. We have another one up here-ish. There. This one starts out here. Okay, this gives us a building. This gives us another building. Okay. These are our 2 last arrows. So, yeah, bringing this to the middle here and bringing this to the middle here. Okay. So we do have a lot of things, and this is where trigonometry is going to do most of the work for us. Okay. there we go, is that we do have a frame of perspective. Okay, whoa, cancel. We have here a Faculty of Sports and Health and Studies. We have an eye clinic. We have a few points, and we have kind of the straight and narrow. Yes, this will be a simple trig, is because we actually don't need to do any math. We just need to draw the arrows kind of at the accurate distance between these two things relative to where we are. And since we don't know where we are, we're just going to do it from where we're looking at compared to what we're referencing it against. And that is how it's going to work. So I'm just going to save this as yellow cap ghost 1. Right, there we go. That way I can open it on another window. A desktop. Yep. There we go. Yellow cap ghost 1. Okay. So we have our image. It's badly cropped, but whatever. That's on my end. It's not on yellow cap ghost end. I just added a line. Okay, cool. And the thing, what we're going to do now is, okay, we're adding this to our project. Poof. So that would be DHL. Poof. And I think I forgot to add this. Right. This is the one we are not entirely certain about. Oh, apparently this has a name. Okay, let's ignore the fact that this has a name. I just didn't zoom enough. Okay. This, and I forgot to add this very specific area to my map. Okay. Okay, add to project. Poof. Poof. Combi Plaza. So we now have our 6 points, which are here. 6 points, and our 3 reference points here. And our kind of susceptible origin here. Okay? So how we're going to do this is we're going to put everything on the screen. Okay, yeah. We're going to try to align everything. Kind of. We're going to go into 2D mode. Okay. And we are kind of trying to do this way. So this might seem a little bit excessive, but I'm trying to really get everything on. But there, we have a lot of things and they're all aligned. This is at the same time very good, and it's at the same time very horrible. Because, as you'll see, it might tweak some things. So, where am I on this map? Is the question. Well, if I'm comparing this, and we'll just take out the drawing tool. There we go. To what I have here, I have a few things. For example, here I have the eye clinic, which is this thing here. And I have 3 of my lines, the 3 most lines that go between these 2 points. And I have my 3 other lines from these 3 things that go through these 2 points. With one really touching upon the other one. So that's what I'm going to start with. So, lefternmost one. Okay. Take this, let's do a bit of width. Take this. And this one is literally touching this building. Okay, let's go a little bit further, and let's go to the bottom. Okay, here we're a little bit too much to the left. Want to be going a little bit to there. Okay, that's already pretty good. We already have 1 frame of reference. So to basically do a triangulation, you need 3 points. And we technically have 6, so I'm going to only choose 3 of them, which will be the one I just chose, because it has a point of reference towards the sports thing here. Faculty of Sports, so it's kind of touching on it. And then we have Combi Plaza, and we have the DHL building. And these go, let's say, 1/4 of the way between both, and this one 3/4 of the way between both. That's kind of where I'm starting at. Okay. Let's just do something like this. We're going to have to eye it afterwards. And do something like this. Okay. And so now what we want is we want this to go 1/4 of the way. Okay? So we're just going to take this and we're going to shove it a little bit more to the left. And this one goes about 1/4 of the way. See, here we have this. If you slice it in 4, this is kind of the 1/4. Of course, some inequality could be there. Let's just shove it a little bit more like this. Okay, this gives us this. Okay, and let's take this one and shove it a little bit more to the right. Just to triangulate. Here it's about 1/4 of the way. Okay, so this line most to the right is this line most to the right. Could actually be considered 1/3 of the way. This line kind of in the middle here is the line in the middle here. Okay, and this line here from the Hashimoto Tower is the one that is touching the Faculty of Sports, kind of here, and is the one that is most to the left. And these three lines cross kind of here. Okay, so I just put a small dot here to indicate where they're crossing. And now let's find that place on the map. So, Sable, can you confirm this was simple trig? Where I did 0 math. Yes, fantastic. Success. So let's zoom back in a bit. And so we have this exchanger here and here, which is kind of straight above it, like this. Okay, so we're reorienting ourselves. Kind of straight above, kind of straight above. We have this area here, which is this. Okay, so we already have our line. And then if we follow a bit, we land to where our point is, which is kind of like, let's say, 1/3 of the way up, or half of the way up. There we go. Because this image was taken with perspective, and kind of underneath the, where the highway is. There we go. We're going to say this is this, and this is this, which is this monkey park and wildflower garden. Yellow Capped Ghost, can you confirm that you were somewhere around these very 50 meters, square meters? If he says no, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah, no, I am. Yeah, wait there. Actually, where exactly? Wait,
I have it down to 50 square meters.
Put your mouse in an area where you think it is.
Fuck. Give me a second. I'm just going to human. I mean, if it were me, I would just be here at the observation deck, because that is where I have the best view-ish. Well, from the ground, apparently. But it's also the one with the least vegetation overlooking it. Let me move around. God damn it. Give me a second. So, if it were me, I would be standing here and viewing outward. Because it does look like it. You can see everything from here.
You're very close, but it's not the observatory deck.
This,
I actually never knew that it was there.
Where?
It's not the deck. If you zoom out slightly, you see there's a small building on your right?
This one?
Not the monkey. The little one to the left with the monkeys. Yep. There's a small little bare ground there. I went down. Yeah. So you see where this is a restaurant, and then where it looks, literally where your mouse is right now. That's where I was looking.
Huh. So I wasn't that far off. I'll take that.
No. No, I would. That's statistically that should be. Oh, there's a roundabout where I stood. I took 3 photos from there, so I know the spot very well. But yeah, very well done.
Woohoo!
Promotion time. Woo!
Woo!
Yeah,
so yeah, if you're interested in OSINT, check Yellow Capped Ghost's blog, and yeah, see promotion time. There we go. Gratuitous self.
The point of the blog is not about OSINT this time. It is about something completely different.
Toilets.
Actually, that's curiosity.
Please say it's toilets.
We've already done a toilet one. You did that last time. You know that. You even
Yeah,
asked for it. No, this one's about the actual mountain, about shrines this time.
Okay.
Because the reason why the steps were so popular is it's 100. I believe it's 100 steps if I remember correctly. You're not allowed to stop at all whilst climbing them if you want to have a good life, good healthy life.
Did you stop?
So no, and I even GoPro'd it for evidence.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
that was our OSINT tutorial, I guess. It turned out into a practical tutorial. And yeah, so this is how you use take an image, which is once again, I'm going to say, of surprisingly okay quality in terms of you can distinguish shapes. So yeah, you can distinguish shapes, so it's good enough. And trying to pinpoint the location within how far was I? I was within within 70 meters